All right, here we go. We got my homie, legendary Bun B of UGK in the house.
It's good to talk to you, man. I actually remember DJ Vlad when he was still a DJ.
Yeah, that's actually how we met, off the Tupac Rap Phenomenon mixtape.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was big for me, man. That was big. And something I'll always remember was, I called you up out the blues. We had a friend in common. I said, yo, I want to have you do this verse on this Tupac mixtape, but it's about to drop. And you hit me back like the next day and you're like, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm known for a quick turnaround. That's kind of why I'm featured on so many people's projects, because I'm always quick to turn around. And I'm kind of like how Carrie Fisher was a script doctor. I'm like an album doctor. So when people put their homeboy or their cousin or their artist on the song and it doesn't really work, they call me up to kind of clean up the song. Like, look, well, we did a song about women. He started talking about cars and money. So I need somebody that can do me a verse, stay on topic.
Well, and I remember you told me something that I've always remembered. And you said, when I thanked you for getting it back to me so quick, you said, well, Vlad, rapping is my job and I take my job seriously.
That's it, man. And that's pretty much, I'm a little more diversified now. So I got a couple of other things I do, but rap is still my day job. And I heard somebody say a long time ago, if you've been working at McDonald's for 20 years and it still takes you 5 minutes to make a Big Mac, you need to quit. So I try to be very, concise with it. And I know there's a lot of shit that holds up people's projects, whether it's sample clearances or paperwork or all the red tape that comes with the industry. I never wanted me to be a reason why somebody's project was held up.
No doubt, man. I definitely appreciate it. And it shows why you're still here all these years later.
Yeah, man. All I got is my reputation as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. Now, you grew up in Texas.
Yes. Born in Houston, lived in Houston till the 5th grade, moved to Port Arthur in the 5th grade when my parents divorced, and kind of came into my own in Port Arthur. My younger years were just, average kid years and stuff, but moving into a city like Port Arthur had a very different dynamic. I grew up in a 2-parent home. My dad had a real good job at with the railroad. And then when my parents divorced, it was a single mom situation. So my quality of life changed a lot when I moved to Port Arthur. And then Houston's a major metropolitan city. Port Arthur's a kind of a small town, industrial town. So a lot of things changed. My whole life dynamic changed once I got to Port Arthur. And that really kind of shaped and molded me into the man I am today.
Well, your dad actually had to drop out of school in the 6th grade to help support his family?
Yeah, my dad dropped out in the 6th grade, and I want to say my mom dropped out in the 10th grade. Because back then, the kids used to have to help around the household. My parents grew up in very, very small towns in Louisiana. My dad's from a town called Ville Platte, and my mom's from a town called Mamou. Both of them are super small towns, and very poor families, you know what I'm saying? So once they were strong enough to kind of help out, that's what they had to do.
Right, and I guess your dad actually had to go work in the fields to help out.
Pretty much.
Yeah, man, crazy to think about where we are right now to where our parents started out from,
Oh, and my house, the house where my mom grew up at is still there, so we go and we just, every now and then we'll go back and look at it and see, like the road that they lived on and the road to get to their house they're still dirt roads. They're not even paved today, and it's 2018. So it's crazy, man. Very, very meager, upbringing for my parents.
Mm-hmm. I feel you. Okay, and you said that the town you grew up in was really racist.
Yes. Yeah, Port Arthur, has a reputation for being a racist town, and the town next to it, Bridge City, is the border town to Port Arthur going east, and there's no minorities in Bridge City. And this is probably only 15 miles away from Vidor, Texas, which was the Southeast Texas base for the Ku Klux Klan, and another town that had no minorities at all. Still doesn't have any minorities in that town.
Were you dealing yourself, with racism as a kid in that town?
Not really much, because that wasn't somewhere you went. It was always understood that you didn't go to Bridge City, and you had to go through Bridge City in order to get to Louisiana to go east. And so we were always taught, don't stop in Bridge City.
Wow, it's crazy.
And it's literally just, there's our town, there's a bridge, and then there's the next town, and there's literally, it's night and day.
So
but Port Arthur had its own level of racism, because Janis Joplin is actually from Port Arthur.
Oh,
and
okay.
she went back to her high school reunion and kind of called them out on it. because they, all her friends in school, because all she did was listen to black music and, singers and whatnot. They used to call her a nigga lover, Then they wanted to kiss her ass when she came back.
Yeah, and then she went on to, essentially do black music with Jimi Hendrix and everything.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, so, while you're growing up in high school and everything, because you talk about, like, on your new album, selling drugs and so forth. Like, were you hustling during that time?
Not in high school, after graduation, because we wanted to do music, you know what I'm saying? And so when we met the guy, and I hate to I don't want to say names, but in order for us to put ourselves in a position to put the music out, there were things that we had to do. And that was one of the things that we had to do in order to put records out. And that was kind of part of me working with the record company as far as that was concerned. Really just kind of going back and forth from Houston to Port Arthur and back, because I knew where to sell the drugs at. He knew where to get the drugs from. So we would score in Houston, get on the highway. Like, we would score at, like, say 10 in the morning, get on the highway, go to Port Arthur. We'd be sold out by, like, maybe 8 o'clock at night, drive back to Houston, re-up again, go back to Port Arthur, get there about midnight or so, sell out by 8 in the morning, go back to Houston, and start the whole cycle over. We would probably do that 2 or 3 days in a row and take a day or two off.
Okay. I mean, in the process of going through that, did you ever have any really bad situations you got into?
Yeah, a classmate of mine who ended up becoming a smoker, tried to beat me for some dope one time. He didn't have the money, and I wouldn't give him the dope, and I just pulled up the window. I was like, I'm not fucking with you right now because you tripping. And he tried to throw his Coke bottle and break the window, but the window didn't break, so I, hit him with the car. He was on a bike, so I hit the bike and knocked him off the bike with the car. Then I got nervous and thought I might have really fucked him up, so I burned off. But I still see him to this day, and he doesn't recollect that shit at all. He has no idea that happened.
Yeah, I guess when you're on crack, you really don't remember much.
No. And he's good now too. He's not dope fiend anymore. So.
Okay, but if that was really your worst situations, you weren't really going through, like, the real serious situations of someone selling cocaine.
No, we never got caught. We only got pulled over on the highway one time, and that was coming back with money. And the guy that I was moving it with had a record store at the time, so he had, like, receipts. He would always keep his store receipts with him from the record store, so that if we ever did get pulled over, which eventually happened, he was like, well, this money comes from my record store.
Smart. Yeah, because, I mean, all the time I've known you've never really struck me as one of these, like, career criminal types.
Well, we only did it to put the music out, right? It wasn't something that I really, I was like, I'm finna go sell dope or whatever, because I knew it was some janky shit. But this is like 1991, going into 1992, and the interstate wasn't hot like it is now, right? Or like it was probably 3 or 4 years after. I remember one incident where, and this is probably the most ignorant shit I ever done in my life. I had like 8 ounces of crack. Like, I put them on the dashboard. I was smoking weed with my feet out the window, like on some crazy shit, like riding back. And some shit I would never do. That I wouldn't put 8 joints on the dashboard and ride around right now. But back then there was no, I-10, the interstate that most people traffic drugs down, wasn't really hot at that time. It didn't really get hot till about 94, 95, when cops started figuring out a lot of these drugs were moving down that interstate. So back then, it wasn't even really a thing. And a lot of people that I knew weren't even really selling dope back then. Probably only 4 or 5 dudes that I knew from Port Arthur or 4 or 5 little cliques were even really moving dope like that.